The CEO's Virgin Wife, a love story. The cathedral doors swung open, and all eyes turned to the aisle. As she began to walk, Serafina moved like water flowing over marble. Her long raven hair cascaded down her back in loose waves, catching the golden light streaming through stained glass windows. The ivory silk of her wedding gown was tailored to perfection, hugging her curves in all the right places. The gentle swell of her breasts rising above delicate lace, the narrow of her waist leading to hips that swayed with a natural, intoxicating grace. Her shoulders were bare, skin smooth as polished pearl, and every step she took seemed to set the air humming with a quiet power. But as she approached the altar, Adrian Cross, CEO of Cross Global Holdings and one of the world's most eligible bachelors, kept his gaze fixed on the floor before him. Handsome beyond measure, with his sharp jawline, dark hair, and broad shoulders, he never once lifted his eyes to look at her face. Not when she reached his side, not when the priest spoke their vows, not even when she slipped a diamond band onto his finger. Their union was a one-year contract between two equally wealthy dynasties, a merger meant to strengthen both families' empires, with a clause that allowed them to part ways amicably if they failed to connect. Adrian was convinced she'd agreed only for his fortune, so he'd made a silent promise to punish her, to never look at her, to never speak to her unless necessary, and to make her regret ever marrying him. Serafina came from wealth that rivaled his own, but she'd kept it hidden, wanting him to love her, not her name or her billions. She carried a secret deep in her heart. 6 months before their engagement, she'd been caught in a sudden downpour while carrying a bouquet of crimson roses, and she'd felt his eyes burning into her as she ran through the empty streets. He'd been captivated by the way her simple cotton dress had clung to her curves, by the way rain had streamed down her skin like liquid diamonds, by a beauty that had left him breathless. She'd known exactly who he was, but pride and fear had kept her from revealing herself. What she didn't know was that he'd searched for her obsessively after that day, hiring investigators, combing through security footage from every street corner, even walking the same route in the rain for weeks, hoping to catch just one more glimpse of the mysterious woman who'd awakened something primal within him. As the months passed, Adrian's cruelty deepened. He'd arrive home with different women on his arm, supermodels with perfect features, socialites dripping in diamonds, actresses with famous faces, parading them through the mansion's grand halls, letting them use Serafina's favorite rooms, even hosting lavish galas where he'd dance with them. Under her bedroom window, he never saw her face, never sought her out, never even acknowledged her presence, unless forced to by their parents. Serafina bore it all with quiet dignity, spending her days tending the mansion's hidden walled garden, playing piano in the music room, or reading in the library. She remained a virgin, saving herself for the love she'd almost given up hope of finding. And each night, she'd lie in her cold bed, tears tracing paths down her cheeks in the darkness. With only 2 months left until the contract ended, she'd already begun making plans to move to her family's private villa in the south of France, to start fresh and leave behind the man who'd never even bothered to look at her. It was a stormy night in the 10th month when everything changed. Adrian had come home early, his mind clouded with whiskey and frustration after losing a major deal, and he'd stumbled into the garden to clear his head. The rain fell in sheets, washing over the roses and lilies she'd planted with her own hands. And there, standing in the middle of the garden, with her face tilted up to the sky, was a woman, her long hair flowed down her back like a river of midnight, soaked through and clinging to her skin. She wore only a thin cotton dress that had become transparent in the rain, revealing every curve he remembered so vividly. The fullness of her breasts, the gentle slope of her waist, the soft curve of her hips that seemed to call to him. Lightning split the sky, illuminating her face for the first time in a year. And the air caught in his throat. It was her, the woman from the rain, the woman he'd searched for everywhere. Tears streamed down her cheeks, mixing with raindrops on her full lips, high cheekbones, and almond-shaped amber eyes. Her expression was one of deep, quiet pain as she whispered his name, her voice barely audible over the storm. I never wanted your money. I never even cared about it. I just wanted you to look at me once, to see me. Adrian felt the ground beneath him crumble. The woman he'd been tormenting for nearly a year, the woman he'd refused to even glance at, was the very one his heart had been aching for since the moment he'd seen her running through the rain. Remorse washed over him like the downpour around them, hot and sharp, followed by a wave of self-loathing so intense he could barely stand. Serafina. His voice cracked as he took a step toward her, water pooling around his Italian leather shoes. She opened her eyes, and the pain in their depths nearly broke him. She tried to turn away, pulling her dress closer to her body with trembling hands. Please, just go away. I'll be gone in 2 months. You'll never have to see me again. No, he said, moving until he stood just inches from her. I've been looking for you every single day since that rainstorm. I've been searching for you. He reached out slowly, his fingers trembling as he brushed a strand of wet hair from her forehead. The moment his skin touched hers, a jolt of electricity shot through them both. He cupped her cheeks in his hands, finally seeing her face clearly. The full lips that begged to be kissed, the delicate jawline, the eyes that held worlds of strength and vulnerability. She was even more beautiful than he'd imagined. I'm so sorry, he whispered, his lips brushing hers softly. I've been a monster. I punished you for something you never did, and all this time, you were the one I'd been waiting for. The next morning, Adrian woke up with a purpose he'd never felt before. He dismissed his entire staff, except for the housekeeper, who'd grown fond of Serafina, canceled all meetings for the next month, and spent hours searching the mansion until he found her in the music room, her back to him, as she played a haunting melody on the piano. I know I have no right to ask for your forgiveness, he said quietly, leaning against the doorframe. I know I've hurt you more than you'll ever be able to forgive me for, but please, let me try to make things right. The contract doesn't have to end in 2 months. Let me court you properly, the way you've always deserved. Serafina turned to look at him, her expression guarded, but not closed. Why now, Adrian? After 10 months of bringing other women here, of pretending I don't exist, you never even looked at me because I was afraid, he admitted, moving closer to her, afraid that if I looked at you, I'd see exactly what I saw in that woman in the rain, and that you'd only want me for my money. But I was wrong. I see now that you're worth more than all my companies, all my properties, all my wealth combined. Over the following weeks, Adrian devoted every moment to earning her trust. He removed every trace of the women he'd brought to the mansion, filled her rooms with her favorite jasmine and roses, and spent hours learning everything about her. Her love for Renaissance art, her passion for protecting endangered wildlife, her dream of building schools for children in remote villages. He was patient, never pushing, always respecting her boundaries. One evening, as they sat on a bench in the garden, watching fireflies dance over the grass. He took her hand and kissed her knuckles gently. His touch was warm and firm, sending shivers down her spine. "I want you to know," he said in a low, husky voice that made her breath catch, "that when you're ready for me, I'll take my time with you. I'll learn every curve of your body, every sound that makes you smile, every part of you that makes you you. You'll never feel unseen again." On the eve of their 1-year anniversary, Adrian transformed the walled garden into a sanctuary of light and beauty. Thousands of candles flickered among the flowers. Soft jazz drifted from hidden speakers, and a table was set with crystal and silver under a canopy of stars. He dressed in simple black linen that hugged his broad shoulders and strong arms, and when Serafina appeared in a deep purple gown that flowed like silk around her curves, he felt his heart stop. The dress dipped low at the back, revealing the smooth line of her spine, and the neckline framed her breasts perfectly. "You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen," he said honestly, leading her to the table. "I can't believe I spent a year not looking at you." After dinner, they walked hand in hand through the garden, stopping by the fountain, where she'd been standing in the rain. He pulled her close, his hands resting gently on her waist as he looked into her eyes. "I love you, Serafina, not because of our families or our wealth, but because you're you, the woman who captured my heart in the rain, the woman who showed me what real strength and grace look like." She leaned into him, her hands moving up to rest on his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart against her palms. "I love you too, Adrian. I've loved you since the moment I felt your eyes on me in the rain." He kissed her then, slowly, deeply, his lips exploring hers with a tenderness that made her knees weak. His hands moved up her back, caressing the silk of her gown, then down to cup her hips, pulling her closer against him. She could feel the heat of his desire pressing against her, but he took his time, kissing her neck, her collarbone, the sensitive skin just below her ear that made her sigh softly. "Are you sure?" he whispered against her skin, his breath warm and inviting. "I want you to be completely ready. I'll wait as long as you need." She nodded, her voice breathless with want. "I'm ready for you, only for you." He carried her to the master suite, the one he'd never allowed her to enter before, which had been prepared with silk sheets, candles, and her favorite jasmine-scented oil. He undressed her slowly, his hands trembling with reverence as he revealed her body to his hungry eyes. She was even more perfect than he'd imagined. Skin like warm cream, curves that begged to be worshipped, a beauty that took his breath away. He took his time, exploring every inch of her with his hands and lips, drawing soft moans and sighs from her as he brought her to the edge of pleasure again and again. When he finally joined with her, it was slow and gentle, a union of bodies and hearts that felt as natural as breathing. In that moment, she gave him not just her body, but her complete trust and love. And he knew he'd spend the rest of his life proving he deserved it. 2 months later, on the day their original contract was supposed to end, Adrian led Serafina to the walled garden where everything had changed. The sun was shining, a rainbow arched across the sky, and their families stood waiting along with close friends, all gathered around a new gazebo covered in climbing roses. Adrian knelt before her, pulling out a velvet box that held a ring unlike any other, platinum banded with rubies and diamonds, shaped like raindrops and roses, set with a center stone the color of her amber eyes. 10 months ago, I made the greatest mistake of my life by refusing to look at you, he said, his voice clear and strong as it carried across the garden. I spent so long searching for the woman of my dreams, never realizing she was standing right beside me. I don't want a contract. I want a lifetime. Will you marry me again? Serafina Cross, this time as my equal, my partner, and the love of my life. Tears of joy streamed down her beautiful face as she nodded, her voice thick with emotion. Yes, Adrian, 1,000 times yes. As they exchanged vows under the open sky, Adrian never once took his eyes off her face. He'd spent so long looking for her in the world, but now he knew he'd never need to look anywhere else again. That night, as they danced in the garden, under a sky full of stars, "You're my whole world now,"